with InnoCaption. Like Christina mentioned, her dad was born with a hearing loss. He has tried every single captioning technology available for the past 20, 30 years. About 10 years ago, he was at an HLAA conference. Was that HLAA conference where he met Joseph, our CTO, who actually developed InnoCaption. And that was the first time that Joe, Christina's dad, was able to make a phone call and not have to rely on anybody else to know what was going on. He loved the technology so much that he decided to invest in InnoCaption. That's how Christina became involved eventually, and that's how I also became involved with InnoCaption.
It's not nepotism though, because I had my job first.
Well, I want to say you guys are at the right place at the right time. This is really taking off. So my second question is, many of us use captioning apps for phones and so on. In a nutshell, why should we consider InnoCaption for our phones? You say that InnoCaption is working on integrating punctuation and other improvements. Talk about how you distinguish yourself from the other products out there.
Sure. Are you okay if I take this question?
Go for it.
Okay. So over the years, as you all know, there have been a lot of captioning technologies, landline caption phones. We were the first ones in the market to only rely on smartphones. The reason we did that was because we saw an industry and, let's be honest, a society that was shifting to mobile devices, and the hard of hearing community was being left behind because there was so much focus on the landline devices and there wasn't anything for cell phones. With our patents, we have a patent on the way that we send captions. We send them very quickly, and the company owners decided that the best way to complement that speed was to use CART providers, stenographers, to provide the captions. I think the way that we differentiate ourselves from everybody else on the market is we have a CEO who has a hearing loss. Obviously, I've had a lot of coffee this morning if ASR is lagging behind my talking speed. So where was I?
We have a CEO who has a hearing loss.
Yes, we have a CEO who has a hearing loss, and he relies on the product for everyday communication. We are one of two companies that he has. His other is in accessible technology. So he's very educated in this area, and it's very personal to him. We are a user-centric company, and that's how we do our development. So any of you who have been with us for a few years know that we're constantly upgrading the app, updating it, and we do that based on the feedback of our users. So our goal is always to be improving to meet your accessibility needs. So I think that's probably the differentiation for us from everybody else is we're an app that develops based on our users' needs. We don't define those needs for our users. We believe our users define it, and it's our job to figure out how to implement it.
With that being said, I do really think it makes a huge difference for us having a CEO that has a hearing loss and that is using InnoCaption every single day for every single call. Joe, if there's something that he thinks that a hearing person can have access to on their phones, he wants to make sure that that's going to be implemented on InnoCaption as well. And that has been the goal since day one, is equal access, equal functional equivalence. That's what Joe has preached since day one.
Hey, Tony? Tony? Never mind. I'm admitting them. I got 3 new people just waiting in there. Okay. I'm sorry about that. All right. Okay, so one thing I'd like to, when you're talking about your CEO and what a change it made in his life, we have one of our members actually who gave me the idea about getting into InnoCaption and inviting you to speak, and that's Michael Conley. I don't know if you know him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because when he has been contacting you and getting the information he needs, I mean, it's not easy for, it's just not easy. Obviously, I'm having trouble myself, but Michael, would you go ahead and tell us about your experience? I'm going to get you up here in just a second.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, Matt and Christina, we haven't met, but I've met several people, Jessica and Molly and Paul. I first heard about InnoCaption at the HLAA convention in Minneapolis 2 years ago. And I am not tech savvy at all. And so I had the folks at my business download the software at my work, but I could not download it on my cell phone. Now, for all of you people out there, I am not the most tech savvy person. So a lot of you will be able to download this, but I couldn't on my cell phone. So I just let things go on because I had a job, it worked at work, and I was very lucky to have a lot of people there who could help me. And some of my coworkers would actually get on the phone when I needed to use a regular phone. So I was very lucky. In July, I lost my job, and one of the first priorities was to get InnoCaption on my cell phone because I knew I was going to need it. And I was very lucky to run into Paul Lee, who is the son of Joe Lee, who founded the company. But am I right about that relationship? He's the son of Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I filled out a survey that they send around. InnoCaption is very client feedback oriented, and they contacted me on a regular basis for feedback. And so I responded and I said, you know, I love the company, but I can't get it on my cell phone. And I just, you know, mentioned that in passing. And Paul contacted me, and he was very, very patient in walking me through this. And that's why I say to the rest of you who aren't as tech savvy, I think this is a terrific program, and it has changed a lot of things for me. I don't know about the rest of you, but I was actually very scared to make phone calls. And it was very stressful. I used to procrastinate for days. And then I got this, and Paul walked me through everything. And I thought I was dealing with some very nice man who sat at a desk and he was in charge of customer service or whatever. Turns out that Paul is the CFO. This is a relatively small company. I don't know, you can talk about that afterwards, but it is certainly a customer-oriented company. And he walked me through the most mundane questions. And it took a couple of days, but he was very responsive. And the result is, and again, I'm sure a lot of you can either address this or just talk about your own experience. But I actually make more phone calls now than I did before. I just find this so user-friendly. This is an unpaid announcement, endorsement.
You're getting a commission, aren't you?
I just cannot tell you how helpful this has been for me, and also how helpful the company is to help the rest of you. So let me pause for a second and let other people talk.
Great. So let's go back to Matt. And thank you so much, Michael. So I have one last question for you before you start your slideshow. And that is, what I find fascinating is you offer both stenographers. So let's say if someone was in a class, they could use a stenographer, like they would be at Mesa College and they wanted to get captions, they could use this. No. Is that what you're shaking your head? No.
No. And unfortunately, that's my job to draw those lines.
This is the main reason why I wanted Christina in this presentation with us, because she is responsible for the legal aspects of the company. Whenever someone asks us, hey, can I use InnoCaption for this or that? She's the one answering those questions. So that's a great question, Sharon, and Christina will
That's fine. We don't know what we don't know. That's excellent. We don't want to abuse anything, of course. So I have another question now. You stenographers and you have automatic speech recognition. Can you cite examples where we would want to use one over the other?
Sure. I'm happy to do that. I think a good place to start is that each person is going to define their own accessibility needs in the sense of what the best feature is to use for one call or another. The quality of captions that you receive depend a lot on the speaker, the connection, any unique speech patterns they have, And don't worry, I will give examples, Char. This is just more of a little introduction.
Right.
We view ASR really as an entry because there are a lot of voices that will do very well with ASR. And as you can see, it's very fast because you're just using a computer. The voices that do well are voices that the devices have been trained on. So we use Google along with our own proprietary API with punctuation and some other stuff like that. My voice and Matt's voice do really well because we enunciate our words quite a bit. I know that if there are certain accents that don't do so well, but you can't really just make a blanket statement that any accent doesn't do well with ASR. It really depends. Our engineers are from South Korea, and we use ASR for our weekly calls, and it's very accurate. Our CFO, Paul Lee, had to call China, and the individual there was speaking English as a second language, and for some reason it wasn't processing as well. So you really have to figure out with the speaker what works, and that's why we implemented the in-call switching. If you start with ASR and you feel like that individual's voice isn't processing very well and providing good captions for your accessibility, you just switch at the click of a button. It's seamless. What we do in the background is your captions are running at the same time, and then it hands over, and you'll connect to a CART provider. And the great thing is you can switch back if you want.
That's amazing. So Matt was saying that you can actually choose, what was the option that you can choose to start off with? If the captioner, a stenographer is not available, it will just automatically start with the ASR, and then the captioner will come in. You know, when people call in, they say, we're all busy right now, please call back later, right? None of us want to hear that, but we can start with the ASR, is that right?
That's correct. Right now, there are 3 different modes within the app. You have ASR, and if you select that, every time you make a call, it will automatically start with our ASR engine. You have CA priority, which means if you try to make a call and all of our stenographers are captioning that call, then the beginning of the call will be done through our ASR engine. And then as soon as the captioner becomes available, they'll take over that call. So the switch is done automatically if you set it to CA priority. The third option is CA, which means CA only. If you choose CA only, then that means you don't want to try ASR and you'd rather wait for a captioner to become available to take over that call.
But then you may encounter CA busy signals, especially right now during the pandemic, where we're doing our best to staff, and we've been doing pretty well with projected call volumes. But as you know, everybody's working from home, so at times we have these unanticipated spikes, and then we have to quickly react to add more captioners to the system.
Right. Okay, so I would like to stop right there and just do a little poll with everybody who's here before we move on. We're going to go into your slides, and you know, we don't have to spend a lot of time with that because I know people want to talk to you about what they want and what they're using and just get a little bit more personal feedback from you. But let me go get my poll right now. Everyone, I'm going to ask you a question here. You go ahead and answer it, and then you can close your poll box there. So you're saying for telephone calls, select all that you use. Captions, assistive listening devices, all of the above, none of the above. Just select which is appropriate for you so we can figure out.
It's cool to see the numbers changing in real time.
It is. I don't remember doing that before. I don't know, Tony, is that how it's supposed to look? Okay, everyone's still doing 29 of 35, 85% voted. So I think we'll just stop right there and look at our results.
It's pretty balanced.
Yeah, so I'm interested that 23% use captions of some kind, and later on I'd like you all that are sitting in here to tell us what kind of captioning you use. And then you're using all of the above, so 27% are using some sort of headphones or loops or whatever. Interesting. Okay, so, oh, I didn't share the results. There you go. Sorry. So there you go. That's pretty even. You're right. Okay. So now let's go ahead and have Matt and Christina bring up their slides.
Okay. And
What's going to happen now is they're going to stop sharing desk view and they're going to bring up PowerPoint, which has fantastic captions also. And while they're doing that, I want to say that just mention Google Meet. Christina had mentioned too, has fantastic captions. You don't have to do anything to get them, but we're going to have meetings in Google Meet also. Okay, so here we go.
let me just start talking to, okay, the captions are showing up. I just want to say again, I know Shar said in the beginning, but some people joined the meeting after. If anybody has any questions throughout the presentation, type it in the chat. Tony will let us know. We do encourage questions. It's a lot better than us just sitting here and talking for 30 minutes straight. But we're staring at the PowerPoint presentation, so we can't really see the messages coming in. So let us know if you guys have any questions about anything.
And we can't see you guys either. So if you guys are waving or something to get our attention, please interrupt us because we don't have any video of you guys right now.
Yes, Tony is, it's not very fair for her, but we're going to ask her to take charge of the questions so that we roll around, because then we're going to, at the end, then we're going to open it up completely. Okay, let's go.
Great. Well, thank you.
I have 3 questions now, but I think they can wait just a little bit. So I want the 3 people to know. I acknowledge that your questions or comments are there, but Matt, we're going to let you go ahead with your presentation.
Sure. Let's start off talking about what InnoCaption is. InnoCaption is a mobile app. We're available for the iPhone and Android mobile devices. We offer real-time captionings that are done either through ASR or stenographers. InnoCaption is funded by the FCC, and that means that it's free as long as you have a hearing loss.
So who can use the InnoCaption app? Anybody who's hard of hearing in the United States that needs captions to understand their phone calls. And right now the process to be able, I actually need, sorry, he shrunk us and I need to be able to make sure we're both on camera. So anybody who's hard of hearing in the United States that needs captions to understand their phone calls is able to use the app. And right now you are able to self-certify your hearing loss. For some of the other services, depending on when you signed up, you do have to have an audiologist certification, but that is not the case for InnoCaption at this time until the FCC changes the rulemaking. And
we'll go over the registration process in a little bit. One thing I'd like to point out for this slide, we're getting a lot of questions now. I don't have a hearing loss, but I'd like to show InnoCaption to someone that might benefit from this. How can I go about doing that? You want to let them know?
Sure, there's an option on our website to request a demo account, and you can just put a little blurb for why you need a demo account. Demo accounts are limited to 3-minute sessions, but we find that that's more than enough for a family member or somebody who needs to test it out for somebody else to see how it works, to get a good understanding.
And this is especially good for audiologists too that want to demo InnoCaption for their patients. Why is InnoCaption free to use?
Sure. InnoCaption is free to use because, as I said, we are certified by the FCC. We are a certified Internet Protocol Caption Telephone Services provider. And that segment of Relay is for individuals who would like to speak for themselves, but are unable to hear what the other party to the call is saying for them. Individuals in the deaf and hard of hearing community who rely on sign can use video relay services. Every once in a while, we get somebody contacting us that asks how they are able to speak back if they don't speak. We don't have a text-to-speech option at this point because of our certification, so they rely on other services. One more thing, we receive reimbursement from the Telecommunications Relay Services Fund, and that, excuse us, sorry. Hey. We receive reimbursement from the Telecommunications Relay Services Fund, and that is why people need to fall into this, use their eligibility criteria to be able to use the service. It's actually illegal to charge for telecommunications relay services in the US.
And while she goes take care of the dogs, I will go over how InnoCaption works. One of the main questions we used to get in the beginning is, if I download InnoCaption and I'm trying to make a call, does the person on the other end also needs to download InnoCaption and have it installed on their phones? The answer is no. The only person that needs to have InnoCaption installed is the person that is going to be reading the captions. Basically, you go in the App Store, you go to the Play Store, download it, install it, activate it. You open the app and you make a call. The call goes straight to the person's cell phone and they answer it. There's no call handoff. Now, in the beginning of InnoCaption, in our early days, as soon as you finish registration and download the app, you're given your InnoCaption number. The InnoCaption number, the area code, is going to match the same as your cell phone's area code, but the number itself is different. What happened in the beginning is that if you use the InnoCaption to make an outgoing call, that person would see your InnoCaption number and not your cell phone number. With that, a lot of people weren't answering calls. They weren't being able to reach the person that they were calling. But recently we launched a new feature that allows users to change what number shows up on the person's caller ID. You can now select between your own cell phone number, your InnoCaption number, or you can block the number from showing when you make an outgoing call. So with InnoCaption today, if you select your cell phone number to show on the caller ID, when you make an outgoing call, that person is going to see you calling them from your original cell phone number. They won't even know that you're using InnoCaption. Anything you want to expand on that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's basically how InnoCaption works. Now, to answer incoming calls, there are two different ways. Like I mentioned, you're given an InnoCaption number after the registration process. So if you want to receive calls through the InnoCaption app, the person can either call your InnoCaption number, or you can set up call forwarding to your InnoCaption number, to your cell phone. This way, when someone calls your InnoCaption number, that call is forwarded to your cell phone number. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Or did I get it wrong? No?
Yeah, when they call your regular cell phone number, it's forwarded to InnoCaption.
Perfect. And if anybody has any questions, let us know. We'll go over the process of how to make and how to receive calls.
And please keep in mind when we're articulating this during a presentation, it sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is. We do have step-by-step guides, and our customer service is very helpful. They will walk you through it if you have any issues.
So let's talk a little bit about 911 and InnoCaption.
So you are able to call 911 using the InnoCaption app, but we do like everybody to know that calling InnoCaption from a landline in an emergency remains the best way to contact 911 because of the location services that are associated with your hardwire devices. This is the part that I like to stop and do a little public safety announcement. If you have a video relay device or a hardwire caption telephone in your house, it's up to you, if you move that device, to re-register the address. Because when you call 911 from a hardwire phone, your location is automatically sent to the 911 center. When we had to redo our 911 system, I got to learn a lot more about 911 than I ever wanted to. And I realized that a lot of the things that you see in movies, like if you're on a cell phone and you have an intruder in your house, maybe that's like a scary movie, and you call 911 and put the phone down, they'll be able to find you. And that's not necessarily the case with cellular technology. So back to our solution. When you call 911 from the InnoCaption app, you are sent to our emergency relay center, and the operator asks you for your name, your location, and your callback number. In the event you don't know where you are and you tell that first operator, they're able to hit any key on their console to get the XY coordinates from where you are. We don't recommend relying on that system because with cellular technology, the ping that is sent could be within 500 feet of you, and it doesn't tell you, or it doesn't tell the operator what floor you're on if you're in an apartment building, for example. But if you tell the operator where you are, they go ahead and they transfer it to your local public safety answering point, which is basically your local 911 center, and they connect you with them. This is the only time InnoCaption announces that you have a hearing loss and discloses that. The emergency relay operator, when she talks to the 911 center, does say, I have an individual with hearing loss. They will be speaking for themselves. Here is the information. And then you're able to talk to the 911 operator. In the event the call is disconnected, we do provide the 911 center with a callback number, but it's up to the 911 center whether they call you back or not. And they determine based on their years of experience whether it's safe to do so or if they're going to wait for you to call back. So that has nothing to do with us, but I thought it was helpful to make sure that everybody knew.
Always. Well, let's go over some of the features that are available in InnoCaption. And before we go into the features, I'd like to let everybody know, and I know we've said it before, and we'll probably say it again before everything is over. If there are any features, if you're using InnoCaption and you notice that there's something missing, if you think of, hey, this would make the app even better, send us an email. We're going to have at the end of the presentation a slide with the contact information to our support team. If you ever need help with anything, or if you think of a new feature that you'd like to see added, send us an email and we'll try our best to implement it. With that being said, these are some of the features that we've been able to develop, mostly in part to the feedback that we've received from our users since we launched. And these are things that weren't originally available in the app. If you're a user since 2016, you know half of these things were not made available from the get-go. So today we have caption voicemail. If someone calls you on your InnoCaption number and leaves you a message, you can set up a custom voicemail greeting so they know that it's you. They leave you a message. You can go back and check, and you'll have the transcript of that call as well.
Just really quick, because this is being recorded, we have always had voicemail, which is required by federal law. What is new is the customized voicemail option, where you are able to record your own voice to let people know they've reached you. But the voicemail system has always been here.
Yeah. When you download InnoCaption, it's going to sync to the contacts that are already on your phone as well. So if you want to make an outgoing call, you can either use the keypad that's in the app, or you can go into your contacts, select the person, and hit call. That will make that call a lot faster.
And we get some people asking us if we have access to their contacts. And it's in our privacy policy. We do not. We store these permissions are for local storage, which means it's stored on your device. But even if we wanted to at our customer service center, we wouldn't be able to go through your contacts.
That's a great point. One other question we get all the time is, do I need to log in before I make a call every time? The answer is no. The only time you're going to need to log in is after the activation process. So if you don't have InnoCaption installed, you go to the app or Play Store, download it, activate it, and during the activation process, that is the one and only time you have to log in. You enter the information that you put during the registration process, and after that, the app is ready to go. After that activation process, if you do need to make a call, then all you need to do is open the app, dial the number, and it's going to call out. As you can see on the screen, assignment of a 10-digit number, that's what I was talking about when I mentioned the InnoCaption number. That was the number that you had to give out in the beginning before we had call forwarding available. Now, today, if you select your cell phone number to show on the person's caller ID and you set up call forwarding, there's no need to rely or to even give out that InnoCaption number, and you can keep using your original cell phone number to make and receive calls through the InnoCaption app. I talked about customized voicemail greeting, which is something that we have developed recently, call forwarding capability, caller ID selection. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that InnoCaption is also compatible with Android tablets and iPads. So if you want to see the captions on a bigger format, you can have it installed on those devices as well. You want to talk about the caption mode?
Sure, and this is what we touched on a little bit in the beginning of the presentation. where our users are able to select between cart captions and automatic speech recognition before the beginning of the call. And then you can switch back and forth as your accessibility needs may change. I know our CEO, one way that in the beginning, I guess I should start with the story of why we developed this. In the beginning, when we were researching ASR and testing it, our CEO was using it for all of his calls because he's never going to release a feature that he doesn't think works. So he would be calling, this specific case is the one that stands out in my mind. He was calling an airline, and at the beginning, you reach an automated system. For automated systems, ASR is wonderful. Computers understand computers. It's fast, it's accurate. And then at the end of that automated process, he would be transferred to a representative. And it's a coin toss whether or not the representative that he would get on the phone would have a voice which was processed well with ASR. And he found himself hanging up a lot because we didn't have the switch yet to restart the call with a captioner. And it was a waste of time for him and it wasn't fully accessible. So what we ended up doing, which was his idea, was implementing this switch that as his accessibility needs changed at the end of that automated message, when the representative came on and he realized the captions were not good with ASR, he could hit a button without having to disconnect the call and change the caption mode. So that was where this idea was born. It took our engineers a lot of time. It was not technologically feasible at the time when it was thought of. And they worked really hard and eventually figured it out. It was very exciting. So now we're very proud to have this feature where you can toggle back and forth as speakers change, as your needs change. At the beginning, Shar had asked me for some examples. And please keep in mind that these aren't hard rules because obviously everybody's voice is a little different. These are generalizations, but they're good to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out which captioning methodology you're going to use. Children's voices generally don't process well with automatic speech recognition because they don't speak with normal speech patterns because they're tiny developing humans that are still learning to talk. So a CART provider generally will provide better captions of a child than automatic speech recognition. With overlapping speakers, ASR tends to stop unless they have different microphones. But with overlapping speakers, ASR will stop. A captioner will give you those cues, overlapping speakers or too much background noise. There isn't the human element when it comes to ASR. We can move on. I'm sure we'll get questions. I have a ton more examples, but for the sake of time.
Most important question we get asked is this one: how do I get InnoCaption? And like we've mentioned before, the entire process from the point you decide to download it to the time you try to make a call, it's 5-10 minutes. The first step is going on our website. You go to InnoCaption.com, you register for the service. You then go on your phone and download InnoCaption. If you have an iPhone, you go to the App Store. If you have an Android, you go to the Play Store. Once it's installed on your phone, open the app. The first time you go through the activation process, you're going to be asked for the cell phone that you registered with and the password that you created during the registration process. You enter both of those things. You click continue, and then you're going to be asked about the permissions that Christina was talking about earlier. We're going to ask access to your contacts, to your microphone, and the most important thing is for your location. The app will not work if you don't allow locations, and this is because of our 911 service. Basically, that's all you have to do to download, install, activate the app.
The one permission that some people get stuck on that I like to explain in presentations is Android will ask for access to your documents and photos, which seems very creepy. But the reason that it asks for that is because we have the ability for you to email yourself the transcript. So again, it's a local permission. We don't have access to your photos. We don't have access to your documents, but that permission enables you to email yourself the transcripts.
Yeah. And going off of that, one thing that we didn't touch on when we were going over the features is the ability of every time you hang up a call, you can go back and review the transcript of that conversation. Now, of course, you're only going to have access to half of that conversation. The transcript only captures what the person on the other end is saying. So you won't get to see what you were saying, but you get access of the transcript of that call every time you hang up.
And the reason for that is privacy and confidentiality. It's incredibly difficult to understand context when you're only hearing one side of a phone call. So that is what we kept, and just like the legacy providers that our captioners only hear half.
This is a screenshot of what you're going to see if you go on the website and you register for InnoCaption. The first step is entering your cell phone, re-entering, you hit confirm, and then you're taken to the follow-up steps. The registration itself, like I said, 5 minutes and you're done with the entire thing.
I don't think we need to touch on this one.
Yeah, like Christina said, we usually when we do presentations, we have this slide to talk about desk view, but since we were showing desk view to you guys earlier, it would be redundant and a waste of your time for us to go over it again. If anybody has any questions on desk view, we have a YouTube channel. If you search for InnoCaption on YouTube, there is a desk view quick tutorial on how to set it up. But as always, if anybody has any questions, email us, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to answer anything.
We do still have the video from the CEO in here.
Well, do you want?
This is something, we'll send out the presentation afterwards. These are instructions on how to keep your cell phone number. To go through it, obviously we've already touched on it a little bit, but these are the instructions if you guys end up needing them. Can we play this? And this is our CEO talking about desk view, and it was the announcement from when we launched. Some of you guys may have seen this video.
We just have to turn off the captions on. Are you going to play
Hi.
it?
Oh,
Yeah, you have to turn off the captions.
okay.
Okay. And this is a minute long.
Hi, my name is Joe Duarte with InnoCaption. Today I want to share InnoCaption's latest feature with you. It's called Desk View.
Sorry, guys.
Desk View will allow you to read the caption made through the InnoCaption app on your computer screen. We got feedback from our users that it's hard to read captions on that small cell phone screen to the long conference calls. Now let me show real quick how Desk View works. Let me minimize this, move this over here. This is our website. You go to this button here, register login, and click on it. Click on Desk View. On this page, you enter your cell phone number, password, you log in. And then right here, you click on View Caption. View Caption is a little window where your captions are going to show. The same captions on the InnoCaption app will show right there at the same time. I have Matt already here on a video conference call. I also have the app running with the captions for a quick demo for you. Hi Matt, what do you think our users will think about?
Okay, we can stop here because you guys actually have seen, not from beginning. Let's go back from current slide. Let me put the subtitles back on. The rest of the video was basically just showing how Desk View works, but since most of you guys have seen in the beginning, it hasn't changed much. One thing you'll notice if you do try to go on the website to use Desk View is that our website has changed. We're going through a process of rebranding. We just came out with a new logo and we also redesigned the website. But the button to start up Desk View is still the same. You click on login, register, as you can see here.
These screenshots are from the new website. It was the video that was showing the old website, but as you guys can see here, this is the new website and the buttons are the same. And we'll, okay.
But this is all Christina.
So we have a lot of people asking us if they can use InnoCaption during Zoom webinars, and they can. You can use InnoCaption for any call that a hearing person would make. And that means Zoom webinars as well. The reason that we have so much information on this slide is because we feel it's important to be upfront that the highest levels of accessibility don't generally come from on-demand captioning. The highest levels of accessibility will come if your employer contracts directly with a CART provider that has prep. They're able to know the participants' names ahead of time, all the technical information, and ultimately at the end of the day, that provides you with higher levels of accessibility. While we're on this, I know Shar had mentioned a classroom, and I think that is a good distinction from a Zoom meeting. If the rule that I tell people is if hearing students are calling in as well, and they have the option to, then a hard of hearing student can call in. Now, if the dial-in is only being provided for the hard of hearing individual, then that is using InnoCaption as a substitute for CART services, and that is where it becomes illegal. Because the federal government only pays for phone calls and remote meetings to enable the deaf and hard of hearing community to have the same level of access as their hearing peers. Are TRS services HIPAA compliant? InnoCaption, well, all TRS services, the FCC issued an order working with the Department of Health and Human Services to say that using these services like InnoCaption to facilitate telephone calls between healthcare professionals and patients does not violate the privacy rule of HIPAA. I've heard people tell me that healthcare providers have told them they won't talk to them on relay because of HIPAA, which is a little silly because the privacy rights belong to the patient, but that is not correct. They don't have anything to be worried about. And I have actually sent that order out to users who have asked for it to be able to provide to their healthcare providers.
And this is what we were talking about before. If anybody has any questions whatsoever, this is our support team contact. They have a voice line, they have a text number, but the number one, the best way to reach them is really through email. That's the one that they respond to the fastest. So if you're having a hard time with either making a call, receiving a call, if your transcripts are freezing during a call, don't give up on the app. Let our support team know. 90% of the issues that we encounter, they're easy connectivity issues that we can help users troubleshoot. So again, if you're having any kind of issue, let us know and we'll be more than happy to work with you. Now, if you have any questions about legal stuff, this is the email that Christina checks on every day, regulatory@innocaption.com. The email that I check every day is marketing@innocaption.com. If you need brochures, if you need information about the app, please send me an email, send Christina an email. We'll be more than happy to answer anything.
Okay.
And I think we're going to open the floor now for discussions. Go ahead, Tony.
Matt, this is Tony. Regine, you had a couple of questions, and I'm going to ask you to unmute so that you can ask the question yourself. So Regine, are you there?
I am there. Can you hear me?
It's Regine. Hi, Regine.
Hi.
Hello there. I missed you at the convention. Darn.
We're so happy to see you.
Okay, so first of all, I have to say I'm almost totally deaf, and I've never been able to talk on the phone. I've used all the phones, the CapTel, all four of them at home, and the reason I don't use them is because there's such a lag between what the person says and what I read, and so that's not a really fun conversation. So I've always had my husband make the phone calls for me, but with InnoCaption, oh my gosh, I'm in love with InnoCaption because now I can make the phone calls. They're 100% correct. I never get inaudible on them. They're instant or almost instant enough that I can carry on a conversation. So that's my first thing. My second thing is I talked to Peter at AVA, and we have used Ava for captioning with Zoom calls, and then Cher used InnoCaption, which I thought, oh, yay, I can use that. But Peter said that you are joining forces. Is that, or there's something? He didn't really say you're joining forces, but he says he knows you guys and you go out to dinner, so that's a good thing. But can you explain what you're going to be doing with Ava?
Sure. We have personal relationships with Ava and professional relationships with them. We like those guys a lot. But because we're a regulated service, we actually are not doing anything in conjunction with them.
We know them, I wouldn't say very well. We love the Ava guys. I feel like we got started pretty much at the same time. So we would see them when they were a small startup at these conferences, and we were the same way. So I think we were able to bond very well with them because we were all going through the same process. Even though our apps, they offer a similar service, it is for somewhat of a different demographic.
Not
Okay.
demographic, but use for different uses.
Yeah.
Okay, we have David Bitters here from South Carolina has got a question.
Go Gamecocks. I hope you're not a Clemson fan.
Uh-oh.
Do we have a Clemson fan? I'm leaving, David.
I think we should stop then. My question is, doing the registration, which I just did. I am very, very leery when you start asking social security numbers and birth date. Too much information. I have had so many identity theft, and it's not funny. So how do I know that this information is never going to be out there?
And that's
why we have to do it.
That's a great question, David. You're not the only one. We get asked this on a weekly basis, and I'll let Christina answer that.
We are actually required by the Federal Communications Commission to get pieces of information from our users: the name, the name, social security number, date of birth, and address. Currently, they are not doing anything with it for IPCTS, but they're in the process of creating a user registration database to ensure that the people using the service are who they say they are. There will be an identity check. We do not share your information with anybody or sell it to anybody. Our system is encrypted, and we host our servers on Amazon, which has
The highest level of security.
very, very, very high levels of security. So there's nothing for you to worry about. And in the discussions with the FCC about the user registration database, it's my understanding that once they verify that information, they will not be keeping it in that database. Only we will have it in our secure server.
So when they verify the information and if my credit information is locked down, are they able to still see that? I mean, that's scary knowing that the federal government can do that.
And they're still developing the system. It's not a credit check. It's just an identity to make sure that you are actually who you say you are.
Okay.
Thank you, David. Okay. The next person we have up here is Allison Freeman. Your question.
Hi. Hi, Tony. Thank you so much for doing this. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
So I'm sort of new to this also. I guess the question I really had was, I'm a psychologist, and I would like to be able to reassure my clients and myself about InnoCaption being HIPAA compliant. And you mentioned, of course, that's a little silly, that's within the patient's rights. And I wonder if there's anything written to that effect that I could share with my client and myself.
I am able to, with it being within the patient's rights, I'm not sure, probably within HIPAA, but for the privacy law, I do have that order that I can share with you. And you can, if you are using a cart provider, then they don't hear what you're saying. They only hear what your patient is saying. If you are using automatic speech recognition, we use the Google engine, but without data logging. So we pay more to use our automatic speech recognition service to ensure that no machine learning is happening. Even though machine learning doesn't take really whole sentences, we still feel like our users would like that level of security to know that their conversations aren't going anywhere. So nobody is, if you use automatic speech recognition, nobody is on the call with you.
Great. And I'm assuming you're going to be providing your contact information if we have further questions. Great. Okay. Thank you so much for this great presentation.
Allison, if you need Christina to expand on anything besides the regulatory at InnoCaption.com email, do you want to give your email as well?
Well, the only reason I don't generally give my email out is because my name is Christina without an H. So it's Christina@InnoCaption.com. But I've had a few too many people write Christina with an H and not Christina.
Okay.
And then I never actually get the email. So that's why the regulatory comes directly to my inbox. And that's why I stick with that. People can spell regulatory, but not Christina.
But do let her know if you need her to expand on any of those items.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, our next question comes from Vicki. You're on.
Hello, Matt and Christina. It's Vicki from
Hi,
the
Vicki.
HLAA
It's
chapter
great
of Colorado
seeing you.
Springs.
How are you?
I am great. How are you guys doing?
Doing well,
Good.
thank you.
You're going to have to tell us what our future holds since you're hours ahead of us.
Everything is looking the same here, Vicki. Not much to update you guys on.
Okay. I have two questions. I guess the shortest one is, how is it that you find your captioners? Because as far as like when we try to get CART captioners for our chapter meetings, there is such a shortage of CART captioners, and I wonder how you get them interested in being a captioner for InnoCaption.
So I think I can speak a little bit to this. I just put together a spreadsheet for our captioning agents. We were looking for more. The more we grow, the more stenographers we need to bring in. What I did, I went online and I looked up every captioning school. You have CCR is one of the biggest ones. We have started advertising with these schools to let their students know that we are hiring. We have sent out personal emails to instructors at those schools, letting them know that we're also hiring. So Facebook, LinkedIn, we've taken out ads to let people know that we're hiring as well. So we're being very proactive on how we go about adding new stenographers.
And a lot of our stenographers, new ones that come to us, are referral through other stenographers that already contract with us.
That's a good point as well. Yep.
But it is difficult to find CART providers these days. And Vicki, if you want to send me an email, I'm happy to provide you some ideas on how you may be able to find some CART providers.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you. And the other question I have, I'm going to have to read it. I use InnoCaption, and most of my calls are in voicemail. And it's a little frustrating. It seems to be such a long lead-in when I want to play my voicemail. It, gives you the captioner's number, the caller assistant number, etc. Press 1 to listen to your message, blah, blah. And it just seems, I want to just get right to it. Why, or does that have to be there, and why?
Sure. So we actually have received that feedback from a lot of users, and I want to be cognizant of my response here because I know this is being recorded to be shared, but we have taken that into consideration and are developing a solution that will hopefully be available in the next couple months to enable our users to connect faster.
Okay, thanks so much, you guys.
You are not the only one that feels that way, Vicki. So we're trying to do something about that.
Okay, good, great, thank you.
Okay, we have another question. Is it Stilette Kim? I'm not sure. Would you unmute yourself and ask your question? Oops, do it again. Sorry. There you
Good
go.
morning, everyone. Sorry, I have children in the background, so I didn't want you to not be able to hear because of them. So if I'm understanding correctly, InnoCaption is targeted towards individual users. And I was wondering if it is able to be integrated with Zoom meetings from an organization standpoint to be able to provide the captioning service for meeting attendees.
Sure. So, sorry, I'm thinking about your question. No, it's for the individual. So the individual with hearing loss is the one that would download it and use it. Employers are not able to do it because technically employers are supposed to be providing accommodations for their employees, and InnoCaption does not count as it counts as an accommodation insofar as they can use it on their work phones, but an employer would not be able to register for an account and then provide the captions.
Right. Okay, I understand. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Okay, any other questions? You can put it in the chat box. If you know how to raise the hand, you can do that.
I am seeing David and Allison raising their hands. I can't see anybody else, but I can see them. So if anybody else is raising their hand, I'm sorry, I just can't see you.
Okay, David is,
Okay.
I think, David, did you have another question? Go ahead.
Yes. I recognize the number that was set up for me. And my question is, will this number be preventing spam calls from coming through? Because I have the most horrendous experience with BP phone. In the middle of the night, the phone would be flashing at me and it's all spam. So how are you dealing with any kind of spam call through that number?
Sure. So we're currently working with our VoIP provider to figure out the options that they have for spam call blocking. But we also allow our users to block numbers. So what I do, I know we have T-Mobile and we have the spam blocking, but we're still getting spam calls. So we block the numbers that can continually call us. And you have the ability to do that also on your InnoCaption app. If in the middle of the night you are getting woken up because of spam calls, you can put your InnoCaption app on Do Not Disturb and it will not come through. But we will be, as we work with our VoIP provider, we will be updating our users.
And there's a couple other things that we can do too, David. One thing that you can do within the app, you can prevent numbers from calling you. So you can go in the InnoCaption app, you go to your recent calls, and any number that's in there, you can add that to your blocked list. And worst case scenario, we can provide you with a new InnoCaption number as well, but usually that's last case resort.
Okay, thank you. I see that list. Thanks.
Great.
Okay, Shar, back to you.
Okay, in the beginning, we had a technical problem and I was calling in on the app, InnoCaption on my phone, and then I was on my PC and I brought up the desk view. And then everybody's audio went away and it wasn't captioning. And I want to say, I went into my settings, Matt and Christina, and I had my microphone turned on for InnoCaption when I should have had it turned off on my phone because I was using audio, computer audio for this meeting. So I think that's why that happened.
Yes, and I was just looking at it. We also were in the middle of creating a help center for InnoCaption, and we already have plenty of articles in there. If you go on our website and you go to the help center and you type desk view, you see instructions on how to make the most out of it.
The other thing I want to tell everybody, if you just want to chat with your friends, I don't know how many of you have tried Google Meet. It's fantastic with captions. It works very well, very accurate, and it doesn't require any other apps that's, into it. So if you're just having a conversation with your family, that's really the one that I would go for. And I think, Christina, you said too, you admired Google
Yes.
Meet, didn't you?
Yes, I like Google Meets. It's what we use for our family phone calls. I feel like the captioning on Google Meets is very good, especially obviously when people speak over each other, not as much. My family lovingly refers to me as the accessibility police because I stop people and I say, hey, the captions are not working, guys. Both, as I said, both of my parents have a hearing loss. I've tried multiple captioning platforms, and I really do feel like Google is the one I like the best for personal conversations like that.
And I think that's because they've been developing their ASR engine for longer than most companies have out there. So it is amazing what they can do these days.
Yeah, and so we're actually over time, but this has been so great. And I'm just amazed that people don't know about InnoCaption. It's so available. And yeah, so Tony has shared the link, info@innocaption.com. And you can just do a Google go InnoCaption, it'll take you and you can register there. So we want to have you again sometimes, Matt and Christina, if things develop. And we're going to be having more meetings about various technologies that, we want to talk about the physical things, the loops and the silhouette and all these sort of things that works for us. And I want to say that I feel like people who would have never considered doing these things in the past have suddenly become techies. People come to our HLAA meetings and they're sporting all this paraphernalia. They could do this, they could do that. I think it's just the most fantastic thing. And that the technology, while it's great for everybody, for people with hearing loss, it just opens up a whole brand new world for us. So we're very appreciative of that. So Tony, I want to say Tony Barriette, who's been managing the questions in the participant room, the waiting room. She is the chapter coordinator for Southern California. Thank you so much, Tony. And I believe we have Katie Wright, who is the president of HLAA California, with us too. So that's wonderful. And we have recorded this. We will be sending out information that we've in email to you, links and contact information and so on. So if anyone has anything else to say, or Tony, do you have anything else to say about what's coming up?
I'm good for now.
Okay, good. Okay, well, I want to thank everyone for being here. This has been so exciting. And there's so many new names here I've never seen before. That's great. So I hope you will join us again.
Yeah, we want to thank everybody, especially you, Shar and Tony, for hosting the meeting. Vicky, Regine, it was great seeing you guys again. A special thank you to Michael. Michael is actually helping us create some great user stories. He's helping share his experience with InnoCaption. So thank you so much for doing that for us, Michael.
Yeah, I believe Tony did have something to say. I saw her waving her arms.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I did want to say that HLAA California is going to be having a virtual meeting on the 10th of October. So we'll be putting it on the website. We'll be definitely sending it out in email, and just wanted everybody to know that.
Great. And if anybody has any questions about InnoCaption, if you don't want to email support, my email is matt@innocaption.com. You need any brochures, if you know any audiologists and you want InnoCaption brochures in your office, let me know. I'll be more than happy to send out anything. Once we're able to travel again and things are back to normal, I look forward to visiting your chapter in person.
And we will send you the updated presentation. And it looks like, it looks like we're having a little bit of a connection problem at our house, but the captions finally cleared up. We will be sending the updated presentation to you to send out. We did change a couple of things, so everybody will have the instructions that were in there, the links, and also our contact information. You guys have been great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Everybody stay safe and have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.